Okay, so the idea behind this exercise is that we're going to take a SketchUp floor plan, put it into layout so we can, add dimensions and all the notes and the scale. But also we want to learn how we can then use Photoshop to add custom, maybe like watercolor effects or custom textures. So we're going to use the three softwares together to create, hopefully, an impressive floor plan. So what you need to do is first is open up that SketchUp file if you haven't already done so. And I'll open mine. Okay, so this is just a plain 2D floor plan. There's been no height added to it, because at times that maybe that's all you need to provide your customer. They may go, I just want a floor plan, that's it. So why do 3D sometimes, So that can be quite handy. And I created a scene at the top here, which takes us back to that 2D view every time if we need to go back to it. So one thing that might be helpful is if we add color to the floor plan, because if you add a specific color in here, then you can select it more easily in Photoshop, because the magic wand tends to work a bit better with colors. So for example, and just watch this, we'll just go through the whole thing and then you've at least seen it once. So I'm going to go to the paint bucket, I'm going to create a material, and I'm going to create a color. And I'm just going to maybe paint the surface that I want to be red. And at any point where it's going through the hallway, for example, and you don't want that, you may need to draw a line to break up that floor, because maybe only the main areas, lino and or tiles and carpet in the other areas. Alright, so then I would need to go back to the paint bucket, hold Alt, click on the white so I can then paint the doors. So that's the only area that I want to be able to select, and maybe across there, maybe there. I'll make that red. So that there is its own color. And then you would maybe use a different color for the other areas, which may be carpet. So you're breaking it up with colors so that you can select it easily in Photoshop.
The colours
Don't need to match, no. And they can be basically any color. Sometimes the brighter the better, because the Photoshop can select it quite easily. So that's one step. You've got to color the different floor areas. The next step is we need to bring in some furniture, because we want to show where the location of furniture is. So again, this is just an exercise to show you a concept of how you could do a floor plan. So if I go to File, Import, and from that zip file I gave you, there was another folder called Components, and you can just grab the components from there. So if I go, where did I say them? I think I went there. Too many folders. Okay, so you need to set the files of type to be SketchUp files that you're importing. And I'm just going to bring in the couch, for example. So I go File, I just import, open it, and that's interesting, it put it right where it needed to be. That's strange. So I'll try another one. File, import, and we'll bring in maybe the sink. Open. Wow. I've never been able to do that before, so that's cool. So it's bring it into the right place, so that may save you some time. So, but all I wanted to show you is that you can have like a 2D floor plan, bring in 3D elements, but then get the 2D view from them. So this sink has come into the right place, but it isn't the right height, so I would, because if I go to the 2D view, you can see it's not showing the bottom of the sink. So I'm just going to move it upwards so I can see the the bottom of the sink, so when I go to the 2D view again, it looks like it should look. So it's just 3D elements sitting on a 2D plan, which, you know, can be quite cool. Alright, so that's basically the gist of the 2D plan in SketchUp. We want to add color, we want to put in the 3D furniture, then we're going to send it to LayOut. So we go File, Send to LayOut, and you must save your drawing before you can do that, so we'll save. We'll just do a normal save there. File, and then Send to LayOut. Then you need to choose a template, so I'm going to go to the title block, Contemporary A3 Landscape. Open that. And then we can go through Moodle, basically, and just make sure you cover all of these steps. So we need to dimension it, we need to add notes, put it to the right scale, floor finishes with a material key, just standard type stuff. Furniture, we did that in SketchUp. You show a floor level, I've given you that, that's 225 millimeters. Show a smoke alarm. Note whether it's a cubicle or a tiled shower. Door sizes, and whether or not you've got a hot water cylinder or if it's a gas sort of floor plan. Yep. Yep. Okay, so once you're happy with your plan, we're going to go to File. Oh, sorry, I'll jump back into SketchUp, so I'll just pull that over to there. Okay, yeah, I'm back into LayOut. So the first things I would do is set the scale. So first select the file or the viewport. In SketchUp, in the SketchUp model tab, you need to choose the scene that we had selected, because if it's the last saved view, if we go back to SketchUp and change that, it could change the floor plan view. So you need to select the scene that won't change, you know, that view won't change. The scale, we're going to set that to 1 to 20, hopefully. No, 1 to 100. And that's tiny, so I'll try 1 to 50. 1 to 50 works well on this sheet. So use 1 to 50. Okay, so then what I'd recommend doing is doing the dimensions first, because then we can use the endpoints from the plan. So I'll show you what I mean. So grab the dimension tool, and you need to dimension the floor plan. But see how it's got meters? That doesn't look very good. It's not exactly what we want. So the style's wrong with that template. So we've got to click on the dimension tool. Under shape style, we need to set it to /. We need to set the end arrow to /. Then under the dimension dialog, we're going to untick meters, because we don't want to show that unit. We want it to just be millimeters. We want to set it to millimeters, and we want to set the precision to 1. So now when I do my dimension, it's going to be displaying correctly. And if you remember, we can double click on the next points and it will just repeat those dimensions. Okay, then you could do an overall once you're done. Say that again, sorry? You don't have to do the windows, but I'd like you to show me what the door sizes are. And so what I would do there is I would get the dimension tool, and I'd measure the opening of the door. So it's 810, and then I'll just get the text tool and go 810.
So is that what we have to do for the door?
Yep, this is what we have to do for the doors, and just rotate that and put that into place. Yep, on every door will be helpful. Okay, so then also with the dimensions, I'd like you to make those lines not so long. If you remember, this step's a little bit annoying. So you double click on the dimension, then you drag the line up, and then we can drag the other line up. But then you need to do it for each dimension point. So I need to double click on the 90, drag that up, drag it up, and then also I need to do it for that top dimension, so I can then drag that up. I wish they would fix that, but we just need to work with it for now and see how much tidier that is. And if your 90 is overlapping some of the lines, double click on the 90, and then you can move that up, and then you can press escape on your keyboard multiple times and it will get out of the dimension. So again, double click on the 90, drag that up, pull up the lines, and then escape, escape, escape. Double click on the 17, drag that up, drag it up, escape, escape, escape. And that's going to give us some nice clear dimensioning. Okay, next what we need to do to get it into Photoshop is we need to export it as an image. And there's one key thing to make sure that when we do take it into Photoshop, we can bring it into the exact same place where we had it. And that's by drawing some markers in LayOut. So what I would do is get the rectangle tool, make sure fill is turned off, because if fill's turned on, I can't see where my plan below it. I don't want that. So before you draw, or even after you draw, just turn off fill, draw a rectangle around your model, and then we can use that in Photoshop to crop to, and then it will come into the right place. So now I'm going to go to Photoshop and I'm going to go File, Export, PDF, because Photoshop can actually open PDFs, which is quite good. And I'm going to call it, exercise 6. And again, I'm just going through the whole thing, but I'm recording it, so you can always refer to that, and I am going to be here to answer any questions. Output quality is high, and then we can export the PDF. And it's only page number 2 that we're interested in. So before you exported it, I could have gone back to the Pages dialog, Pages, and I could have deleted the cover page because I'm not interested in that. I'm just going to delete that. So I've only got one page, File, Export, PDF, overwrite my existing file, and so it's only got one page to open in Photoshop. So then I'm going to open Photoshop, just give it a bit of time to open. Okay, I'll just drag that a bit bigger. So I'm going to go File, Open, and open the exercise 6 PDF. And you'll want to make sure that you've got a resolution of 300, and that will make sure that it's really good quality as you open it. So I'm going to go OK. And you can see here it's brought in the red element, which is quite cool. Then all I need to do is get the magic wand, so you can hold down that button and get the magic wand, click on the red, and then we can make sure that this button's ticked, which is called Add to Selection. So then we can add this little piece here that was missing, and then once you've got that, you can go Control C or Edit Copy, and then Control V, which is paste. And then we have an element that we can paint. It's just an object. So if you were to get the paint bucket, we can maybe change the color and just paint that black. or you could go and grab a material, use that selection to grab a material and then just crop the material. So you could get like a wooden floor material, for example, use the selection to crop it, and then we've got a color in place of wooden floor. But you may want to do like watercolors, or you may like I remember Kota's your presentation, you did some watercolor effects. You may have like done that by hand, I don't know, but you could maybe do some watercolor effects somehow in here, or just like some transparent colors, that sort of stuff. So I'm just going to maybe paint that just a slightly different color to show you how to get it back into layout once you've colored it up with your material. So I've gone ahead and colored that up. Then what I need to do is I need to crop the image. So if I go the crop tool, I'm just going to pull that corner in, and it may pay to look in there quite closely and just crop it to that line that we drew. So it's quite helpful that we know where that line is. And just remember to zoom in nice and close so that you can see that it's gone to there. Okay, then you just tick it to say I would like to crop that. And then we're going to save this view, but before we do that I just need to turn off layer 1, because that's all I need. All I need is that object there, but it may be multiple little objects that you may have, like your tiles, you may have your carpet. So it's just those elements that we're bringing back into into layout and laying over top of our floor plan. So then we go File, Save As, and we're going to save it as a PNG. I'm just going to put that on the desktop as well. Back into layout, and then we can go File, Insert, open up the PNG, and then we can use these arrows here where I can drag that onto the endpoint. See that marker? And then I can drag it onto the endpoint up there, and there I've gone and I've just overlaid an image over top of it. Then what we can do is we can get rid of that outside edge, so I can maybe like move it down. I can maybe move that image down one click just with my arrow. I can then delete that back rectangle, so I don't want to see the rectangle, and then move the image back up one tap on the arrow to get it back up into place. So essentially we're just using elements of Photoshop to bring into layout, and we're using layout to do the dimensioning, so we're getting, you could get some really cool effects. You can maybe even add shadows and stuff like that to your floor plan, I don't know. And this is when I would say, okay, now you can make notes on your floor plan. So I would go through and add my notes, because it's like a layering effect. We put that image over top of the floor plan, so that's now on top of the floor plan. If you needed to, you could create a layer for that. So under layers, we could go add, and we could go Photoshop image. And since that's the active layer, it's got a pencil on it, I could right click on the image and then move that to the current layer. So if you ever needed to just turn off the visibility of that, you could turn that off, and then you can work behind the image because the image is in the way. So I'll turn the visibility back on. Now I can add text, and then I would go lounge. That's not lounge. And it's tiny, so I would have needed to make that much larger. So with the text style, I want to make it like 24. I don't know, whatever looks good. And just check this out. When I turn the Photoshop image on, it's behind the image, and that's a problem. So I may need to make that, I may need to move that selected element to the Photoshop layer, and I can go to the edit menu, move to current layer, and just make sure I was on the right layer when doing it, because the Photoshop image was on top, so I needed to be on that layer so it showed it on top. And again, now when I do my text again, I'm going to do kitchen.
Could you drag the layers a little, or
Um,
from the side? Can you just drag the layer above the photo?
yeah, I could have done that, but the only issue with that is that if I did that, I'll show you, that image goes behind, so we kind of need it to be there. So maybe just make that Photoshop layer active before adding your notes. Yeah.
Is there any real reason that we need to make a separate layer for the like Photoshop stuff?
Probably not. Unless your notes aren't on top. I'll try it. Let's say I get rid of the. I'll make the default layer active, and I move this layer or the Photoshop image to the current layer, and then I'll get rid of that layer. I'll just say delete. Okay, so let's pretend we didn't have the layer, and I just got the text tool, changed the text size to maybe 18, and it looks like we won't need that layer. Yeah, so forget about that, sorry guys. Just don't use an extra layer because you don't really need to. Cool. So that's the essence of the exercise, and I've recorded it all so you can all refer to Moodle. But of course, you can either email me. I'm going to be here during the class. So yeah.